Michael Forest Reinoehl, the Portland man who admitted he was responsible for the fatal shooting of a right-wing radical during a night of clashes with Trump supporters, was killed by cops as they attempted to apprehend him. This is based on what the authorities are alleging happened. We don't have too many details, but this has to do with the suspect who shot and killed Aaron Danielson, a member of Patriot Prayer. Now, the US Marshals said a task force was attempting to arrest Michael Forest Reinoehl in Washington state. He was wanted for this charge of murder. Now, the initial reports indicate the suspect produced a firearm. So they're alleging that he had a weapon on him, threatening the lives of law enforcement officers. Task force members responded to the threat and struck the suspect, who was pronounced dead at the scene. Now, as this was happening, as the authorities were attempting to apprehend him, Vice actually aired an interview with Reinoehl. He agreed to speak to the press, and he did confess to shooting Aaron Danielson, but says that he did it in an act of self-defense because Danielson was attacking him and a friend with a knife. Now, we do know, based on local reporting at the time, that Danielson did in fact have a knife on him, and he also did have a paintball gun. So there is some evidence corroborating that. But without further ado, here is Michael Reinoehl speaking to the press and explaining why he decided to open fire, killing Aaron Danielson.
I had no choice. I mean, I had a choice. I could have sat there and watched him kill a friend of mine of color, but I wasn't gonna do that. You know, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. My name's Michael Forest Reinoehl, born and raised Portland, Oregon, 48 years old. You know, lots of lawyers suggest that I shouldn't even be saying anything, but I feel it's important that the world at least gets a little bit of what's really going on, because there's been a lot of propaganda put out there. What I will say is that I felt that my life and other people around me's lives were in danger. And I felt like I had no choice but to do what I did.
So before the authorities shot and killed him, he had also mentioned to the press that he is not a member of Antifa, despite the fact that was widely reported. He did describe himself as 100% anti-fascist, but never said that he was 100% Antifa, which was something that was originally alleged. Cenk.
Yeah, so first of all, Reinoehl should not have gone there with a weapon. Like Kyle Rittenhouse, put the weapons away. Don't go in the middle of heated, passionate situations with guns, because then people will use them. And soon both sides will be using them. Well, they're already both sides using them. What I'm worried about is both sides using them at the same time. So this has got disaster written all over it. Okay. And I'm gonna, in a little bit later, give you some quotes of his where he did talk about potentially using force. Now, having said that, Kyle Rittenhouse defenders say, well, you know, he was hit with a skateboard after he shot someone else in the head, so he had every right to kill the guy who was trying to apprehend him or stop him from killing anyone else. Self-defense, right? Well, in this case, apparently there was definitely a knife. And so that's much worse than a skateboard. So definitely self-defense. So all right wingers agree, right? Self-defense, because you just said it about Rittenhouse. And in this case, it appears to be a more significant case of self-defense. So you're all on Reinoehl's side, right? Oh, you're not. That's so weird. See, I'm consistent on it. Both of them should not, both the right winger and the left winger should not have gone with weapons, and they should not have used those weapons. But the right wing will say, oh, when the right wing does it, at the slightest provocation, or after Rittenhouse shoots someone in the head and someone chases him down, he's being chased down after shooting someone in the head, self-defense, not guilty. The other guy, oh, there's a knife and he might have killed someone. No, not self-defense. Why? I don't know, he's left wing. Like, it doesn't require rationale. So now let's look at the cops and whether they were consistent or not. Rittenhouse goes and murders 2 people and shoots 3 and walks up to the cops with his assault
illegal weapon.
Yeah, illegal assault weapon hanging out. Cops are like, hey, how you doing? They let him walk right up to their car. Okay, if he's black, he's already dead. You're walking up to a cop car with an assault weapon. Dead, no question about it. Rittenhouse saunters up after killing 2 people. So the cops are like, hey, how you doing? And then they let him go. Now, in the case of Reinoehl, the cops chase him down a couple of days later. Now, this is super important. Every right-winger online is lying. Every one of them is like, oh, he shot at the cops. He shot at the cops. What are you gonna do? He shot at the cops. Of course they had to murder him. No, that's not true. According to the latest reporting, here's CNN. Initial reports indicate that this suspect produced a firearm. They say it's not known if Reinoehl fired at the officers. Okay, so believe me, if he'd fired at the officers, the first thing the cops would have said is, he fired at us, we had to kill him. He fired at us, murderer, terrorist, right? If the cops aren't saying he fired at him, there's a 200% chance that he didn't fire at them. So, he's running away and he produced a firearm. Yeah, let's just kill him. And so, do I trust the cops that they were under threat? No, I don't. The cops are always on the right wing side. The cops are always against black people and always against the left wing in nearly every instance that we've covered. So, trust cops on blind faith. You must be nuts. And look at the fact patterns here. One guy, yeah, you want to come right up to us with an assault weapon? You're a right winger and you just murdered left wingers. Who cares? Come on up, buddy. You told us. That's okay. Go home. The other guy, he might be running away and he produced the firearm. He didn't shoot it or anything. He had plenty of opportunity, apparently. We don't know. We'll find out more. Right? But right now, the story is he produced a firearm. So good enough. Shoot him. Dead. So there's no end to the hypocrisy.
I mean, yes, you're absolutely right. The hypocrisy is there. We've been pointing it out every single day. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't point it out every single day. But I'm personally done feeling angry at the hypocrisy because they know that they're being hypocritical. They're intentionally being hypocritical. They're intentionally applying a double standard. And we're trying to reason with people who think it's totally okay for, first of all, for police to do extrajudicial killings in this country without allowing people to have their day in court, without allowing people to go through due process and the criminal justice system. They think it's totally fine, right? As long as it impacts specific groups of people. So there's that. And they're just not interested in fairness. They're not interested in equality. These are people who aren't interested in the facts. And so once you kind of accept that they're not honest actors, that they engage in these conversations and these debates with bad faith, well then it's not that the anger goes away, but it's just this understanding of why even bother reasoning with these people? Now, it is important to point out the hypocrisy for everyone else because there's a great deal of misinformation, actually disinformation, involving these protests. As we've given you in previous stories, we've given you statistics. Right-wing extremism in this country is more of a threat when it comes to domestic terror. And we got to keep giving people that information in order to combat the disinformation that we're hearing from the Trump administration and from other right wingers. Trump, by the way, also had seen the interview on Vice and immediately tweeted after, "Why aren't the Portland police arresting the cold-blooded killer of Aaron J. Danielson? Do your job and do it fast. Everybody knows who this thug is. No wonder Portland is going to hell." So to your point, Cenk, and by the way, he was obviously shortly killed by cops after that. But I bring that up because it goes to your point, Cenk. We saw the type of defensive commentary Trump provided for Kyle Rittenhouse, essentially talking about how he was defending his life. But when it comes to someone on the left, someone who identifies with the protesters, well, he's a cold-blooded murderer, and why doesn't the FBI do its job and get him arrested immediately? So that's what we're dealing with. There's one more video, by the way, from his interview that I'd like to go to. So let's take a quick look at that.
It was a free-for-all, and the police were letting it happen.
right after it happened, what did you panic? Did you run?
Well, honestly, those are a bit of details I probably don't want to get into, other than just simply saying that, I realized what had happened. I was confident that I did not hit anyone innocent, and I made my exit.
You okay?
And just to reiterate, you feel that it was totally justified.
Totally justified. Had I not acted, I am confident that my friend and I'm sure I would have been killed, because I wasn't going to stand there and let something happen. What they've done is they're trying to make it look like we're all terrorists, and they're trying to make me look like a murderer.
And look, the part of that video that I definitely agree with, and we've seen it in multiple cases, not just in Portland, is that the police seem to allow some of this chaos to happen. We saw in the case of Kenosha, Wisconsin, the cops were very friendly to the armed militia members who were there, including Kyle Rittenhouse. They passed bottles of water to them, literally said, you could hear it in the video, "We appreciate you guys, we really do." So I think that perspective is important and isn't portrayed accurately enough in the way it's reported elsewhere. But I also want to be fair and note that, I'm suspicious of Reinoehl's side of the story, and he has, as Cenk alluded to earlier, promoted the use of violence. Sometimes he would say, no, violence isn't the way, but other times he seemed to be more open to using violence as a way to combat, Trump-fueled fascism in the country. And he has some stuff in his criminal record that makes me wonder. So we got to give you the full facts. It is what it is.
In a sense, you're right. Like, I grew up naive. I thought the cops were good guys, and partly because I was brainwashed by mainstream media. Every news report is. Growing up, you watch local news. Black guys did something wrong. Cops are amazing heroes who shot black people. Cops are always telling the truth. Always telling the truth. They're angels. They risk their lives for us. When not really too often. I mean, they just shoot at any threat at all. But that's not what we were told. We were told growing up, cops are the greatest things on earth, right? When you find out, it turns out no, whether it's Kenosha, Wisconsin, or Portland, or New York, where we're going to show you later in the show, cops let a guy who runs over protesters. They help him in the beginning, they help him afterwards, etc. It turns out no, the culture of policing is every cop fascist? Of course not, right? But is the culture of policing pro-fascism? Absolutely. In this country, unfortunately, it is. So when you realize that, not only now, but in retrospect, I didn't know all of our lives were in danger because the police aren't actually on the side of all the citizens. And I don't think 90%, 95% of this country realizes that. And so if you're a left-wing activist and you want to yell at me and say, Cenk, you should have known earlier, okay, fair enough. But you have to understand, the people you know aren't the majority of the country. The overwhelming majority of the country has been brainwashed by the media into thinking that cops are angels that walk on earth here, or maybe walk on clouds. And they always tell the truth, and they're just totally neutral and just trying to protect you. When in reality, the history of policing in this country is beat up and assault and abuse and oftentimes kill minorities, and always be against the left wing, crush the left wing at every turn. So they are right wing by their training and culture. So it shouldn't be. So now when we see with our own eyes, because there's cameras everywhere, yeah, okay, now I'm freaked out. Because, I mean, if you have a fascist leader like Donald Trump and he gives them permission to start murdering people in the streets, or covering up for the murders of people, or if a left winger ever does anything, including self-defense, just shoot him dead, who cares? Well, that's a scary place to live, man. It's a super scary place to live. And so that's where we are. Now, in terms of Trump, we all know it. It's fascism defined. Oh, somebody had a skateboard, self-defense, kill anyone you like, as long as you're on my side. Oh, you're not on my side. Somebody was gonna stab you or your friend, you monster terrorist. Cops, why haven't you murdered him yet? Cops, get in there and murder him. This is US Marshals, they're federal forces. So there's a president telling them, you better go take that guy out. And shortly thereafter, they go and take the guy out. So that's how fascism works. Now back to Reinoehl. I want to be super clear about this. Here's quotes from him. He said, every revolution needs people that are willing and ready to fight. I'm 100% Antifa all the way, so he did say it. I'm willing to fight for my brothers and sisters, even if some of them are too ignorant to realize what Antifa truly stands for. We do not want violence, but we will not run from it either. So he says both sides, and I don't care if he calls himself Antifa. I don't care about the label. I like this stupid media, like, oh, Antifa, oh my God, Antifa. Trump said they're terrorists, so I'm gonna treat them as terrorists. No, you're an idiot if you think that. In this case, though, you see what happened. He said, if the police continue to pick on and beat up innocent citizens that are peacefully voicing their objections, it must be met with equal force. Don't do that. No, you're not gonna meet it with equal force. You're gonna potentially kill someone, and then you're almost certainly gonna get killed. It's a really dumb idea has happened here. He says, we truly have an opportunity right now to fix everything. It will be fight like no other, it will be war, and like all wars, there will be casualties. So that is wrong, guys. Do not do that. Do not bring guns to things. Don't think that you're gonna outforce them. That's an idiotic way of thinking. And so, look, MLK and Gandhi did nonviolence and it worked. And it wasn't just because they were giants as moral figures. It was also because they were smart and knew that they were outgunned. There was no way in the world Gandhi was gonna outgun the British Empire. And he knew that and he said that. Same thing with King. So if you think that a couple of left-wing guys are gonna outgun the entire police in this country, you're an idiot. No, civil disobedience works. That requires even more courage.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.